introduce today's visiting artist. He is truly a living musical legend. Some of the many things he's done, he combined both the classical and popular music of Cuba, and both of those became much more richer for it. He also invented the mambo with his brother in the late 30s. During the 50s, he introduced the descarga, which was a way of actually involving improvisation and some jazz into his music. He's also a composer and a renowned classical bass player, as well as the father of most of the contemporary Latin bass lines that you hear. I'd like to digress one little minute here and thank Alex Olivier. He's responsible for our guest today, and I hope you'll all be able to make it down to Villa Victoria on West Newton Street on Thursday night, 8:30, to hear our guest in concert. Also, faculty member and bassist Oscar Stagnero will be our interpreter today. So it's my great pleasure to introduce Israel Cachao Lopez. Thank you.
Esta reunión es para demostrar las raíces nuestras perfeccionadas. Aquí tengo un conocimiento de lo que significa la música nuestra, desde el principio del siglo hasta ahora.
Cachao says he wants to thanks all of you for coming here, and the purpose of the clinic is to, like you said, you're students here trying to learn new stuff. He's bringing the Cuban roots from the 1900s and a mix of all the rhythms that he has been involved lately, so you could learn as much as you can. So enjoy the clinic.
Pero posteriormente, cuando terminemos la sesión de descarga, yo voy a hacer una cosa particular para que vean las raíces de lo que es el danzón también.
The first one that the Cachao is going to play is a descarga, and the next one is going to be a danzón, and he's going to teach how the piano, play the piano, and how the danzón is all about.
Y otra cosa. No es igual que jazz.
Yes, he said that Cuban music is different from jazz, and the way he's playing now to pull the strings, that's the way it should be done. The first tune is a descarga. You say that the descargas that have different rhythms, all of them are not fast as this one. Coming up is the one that is slower than this. The name is La Melodía es para ti. This melody is for you. If anybody has any questions, he's willing to answer.
Your playing is very percussive. I was wondering if you started from the drums.
Exactly. Yeah, he used to be a bongo player. That's why he played percussion. His first instrument was bongos. Any other questions? Yes.
Can you show me the difference between the bass style before he introduced the jazz into the music?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Could you show me the difference between the style before he introduced the innovations that he made on the bass and after he made those?
¿Cómo era la música cubana antes de que el jazz fuera parte de la música cubana?
Bueno, yo puedo algo en eso. No tocó música típica, lo que yo quería explicar.
Yeah, that's what he's gonna explain now. The music that was before they have the jazz influence with Cuban music, which is called typical music from Cuba, música típica cubana.
Sí, porque eso fue la década de los años 50 y 60.
The descargas that he has played there were born around 1957 to this time. So before that, they did have a different kind of music also. That was a mambo before that. 1938, that's when they created the mambo.
Anterior a...
That's before the descargas, 1938, yes. He's gonna play a mambo now, so that's which is based on 1938. He moved the mambo to more jazz, to a more jazz approach on American. The same mambo, but like Americanized. Before the mambo, the danzones, that's before the mambo. How was it played?
Como fueron haciéndose, de acuerdo a en el año 38 mi hermano, junto más o menos, y yo, entonces quedamos este sistema, era otro tipo de...
Yeah, the danzón, prior to Cachao get involved with it, they have a different approach to play it, and his brother Orestes Lopez and Cachao were the creators of the mambo, so they make a switch to that Cuban music that was played before them.
Por ejemplo, yo voy a hacer primero, el piano.
He's gonna play the piano first. The danzón, how was it played?
Desde el año 1910.
It's around 1910 until 1937. It has 4 parts and 1 introduction. That's the form of the whole dance song. The first part is an introduction, then it comes another part which is a flute part, melodies. The second half, which is the flute, it has 16 bars only. No more than that. If not, it wouldn't be part of the flute playing there. The second part, the melody part.
que era donde venía la cosa romántica, ¿no?
That was when it comes to romance of the
Melodías
danzón.
románticas en aquella
The
época.
romantic melodies of those
Como
times.
decir, por ejemplo, ahora, cualquier melodía de esa, o el Rainbow.
It's like Over the Rainbow, that was the comparison is with the romantic melodies that they used to play with that song.
Entonces venía la última parte,
The,
que
the,
era la
la,
parte del danzón.
the last part was called danzón, the actual danzón.
Es como una exposición de danza y son, danzón.
It's a mixture between danza and son.
Entonces yo voy a hacer
He's
algo.
gonna demonstrate that in the piano.
Como se tocaba en esa época. ¿Fue cuál?
La primera parte.
Violín.
Violin part comes now. The last part, the danzón. The danzón from these days,
Entonces entra el mismo mapa.
it introduces to the mambo.
En la parte de violín,
This is violin part
ustedes
now.
la conocen como folclore. Right? Now, the last part.
The last part of the danzón.
El mambo.
The mambo, that's where the mambo came from, the last part of the danzón.
Es el mambo. Right? Pero entonces, Pérez Prado lo avivó.
But Pérez Prado played faster.
Entonces, todos esos ritmos.
That's the mambo that everybody knows, that
Lo
mambo
único
by
que-
Pérez Prado.
En esa época no se tocaba rápido.
Yeah, in that time they didn't play fast, it was slower. Yeah.
Pero entonces, debido a los cambios de evolución de la guerra,
He said that by the war changes that they had,
tiene una influencia sobre el músico. Que
it has an influence over the music.
de acuerdo a la época, ¿no? La violencia esa.
According to the violence that was at that time in Cuba, they started to play everything fast.
Había
Yeah,
ritmo. Eso es todo.
that's it.
Muchas gracias.
That's for you guys have an idea of the process, from the dance song to the mambo to the descargas.
Que vino la descarga. Posteriormente a la descarga vino el cha-cha-cha.
After the descargas came the cha-cha-cha.
Ese fue en el año 50.
In 1950s also. Anterior, before the descargas.
Años 50. En el 57 entró la descarga.
And 1957 he repeats is when the descargas start.
Ellos conocen
No, he's,
quiero buscar una canción.
he's gonna play at Cha also.
Movimiento, play. Esto también su baile también. Entonces pues vino la caña de Cachao. Eso fue hasta después entró otro tipo de música allá. Que ya era más internacional.
And then after the descargas, the music was getting more international.
Más internacional. Entonces entró con los ritmos de acá.
The American influence in Cuba was like exactly jazz. They have a lot of influence from jazz music in Cuba. After the descargas, after the 60s,
Se tocaba más típico.
it used to be played like a more typical way, like a Cuban way, and then it
Por
changed.
ejemplo, acá ha habido mucha variación de jazz a lo que se toca hoy.
And the same way that it happened in the States, like it used to be a more traditional way to play straight ahead or jazz, now it's being played in a different way, in a more modern way. It's the same way in Cuban music.
Igual la música cubana. Toda la música tiene su evolución.
Like every kind of music has its own evolution. Same with Mexican music, Peruvian music.
Entonces pues vamos a hacer ahora otra descarga.
It's gonna play another descarga,
Un poquito menos.
a little bit faster.
Se llama Pamparana.
The name is Pamparana. Yeah, he's saying if anybody has any further questions, any. Yes? No?
Oh, yeah. Could you talk a little bit about the relationship between the length of the notes in the conga?
In relation with the bass player,
yeah, because like I've been learning it, I've realised that it's very much like you're making a sound like a conga.
That's his style. And he doesn't want to teach that. Yeah, because it's not the bass player is not used to play that way. That's what I'm saying. So he took the part from the conga, the length of the notes.
Yeah.
So he applied it to his bass playing.
Así que saber, por ejemplo, algo de mucho más allá de lo que estoy hablando. Del año 1900, de la época de los 20.
Is anybody wants to know about 1920s music, Cuban music?
El son.
About the song?
Yeah. El son fue, vamos a llamarlo, puede decir la verdad, el son fue discriminado.
The song was discriminated
En esa época,
at that time
porque la alta sociedad
because the high society in Cuba,
la rechazaba.
they didn't like it at all. It was refused by them. Yeah, they didn't like that kind of music.
Entonces, siendo presidente el general Machado,
The president at that time was General Machado.
él fue el que llevó el son
He was the one who took the song
al Palacio Presidencial,
to the house, like the White House in Cuba.
lo vistió de tuxedo.
He put it with tuxedo. So the song was with tuxedo there.
Pues de pronto,
And suddenly,
la ropa no era adecuada.
the clothes wasn't appropriated to dance the song. Yeah, the song was like more,
Formal.
like it was like really casual. And everybody was wearing with tuxedo trying to dance the song. So it wasn't really, it was really uncomfortable. But he was the one who took it. Yeah, so he was the one that made the change, so the song will be accepted for the whole Cuban society. He's gonna play the song now.
I have a question about that song. I know that it came from the French contradanza. So I just want to know, when did the contradanza and the African, influence mix? Or I mean, how it sounded before the clave got into the contradanza?
The contradanza is a rhythm that used to be in Cuba before the dance song. Doesn't have any influence, African influence in the dance.
Okay, el danzón viene de la contradanza, o sea, una mezcla de...
The dance song comes from the contradanza, yes.
So,
He's asking where era una influencia africana en el danzón.
Es lo que quiero preguntar.
Sí.
Bueno, siempre va a haber algo.
He's always going to be a little African influence, exactly in the danzón, but the influence is more visual in the other rhythms, like you could feel it more.
Do you know how it was before the African part got into
Bueno, cuando empezó el danzón,
When the danzón started,
no, era una cosa totalmente típica.
it was really typical.
El danzón.
El
La
de danzón.
contradanza era otra época más atrás.
Before, the contradanza is before the danzón.
Right. El danzón fue en el año 1876.
The danzón was created like 1873.
Miguel País fue el que...
Miguel Faid.
Y entonces ahí,
él le añadió el cinquillo.
That's a key to play in the danzón.
Esa es el origen de Cinquillo, es español.
It's Spanish influence.
It just happened to...
España.
Spanish, from Spain.
Entonces, sencillamente, por casualidad,
Sí,
encaja con la clave.
Exacto.
So by coincidence, it fits the clave.
El Cinquillo encaja con la clave porque, por ejemplo, aquí en los Estados Unidos hay un sistema.
Here in the States, it says it's a system for
En Cuba no se usaba.
that in Cuba they didn't use
La clave,
the clave
3 y 2.
3-2 or 2-3.
Entonces el Cinquillo pertenece.
The quintuplet belongs to 3-2.
Si usted hace ese ha sido
So that's
una
a,
influencia tuvo la música nuestra como la africana, ¿no?
he said that Cuban music was influenced also, influential in the dance song, the same with the Afro.
Esa es la leche. Creo que eso, por ejemplo, tiene mucha fase de recita, porque los conjuntos,
The conjunto that plays the dance song, the song,
el instrumento, con trabajo,
the upright,
no se tocaba
it wasn't played.
correctamente.
It wasn't played in the right way.
Es decir, los giros y los cambios armónicos no
The-
se hacían.
They didn't play the chord changes, he
¿No?
said.
Entonces, un ejemplo, cualquier melodía.
That's an example he's gonna play.
La trabajita hacía esto. Ni siquiera esto. No hacía. Todo el tiempo.
That he played the whole tune like that. No matter what changes were played. Like,
Podía modular.
yeah, he could modulate, change keys,
Modular.
and he always played the same.
¿Sí? Entonces después,
And then after
en
that,
el año ya 28,
1928,
ya entonces los bajistas aceptaban la melodía.
they would start to follow in the melody finally.
Sí, habían estudiado ya, ¿no?
And they have studied the instrument.
Por ejemplo, cualquier melodía de eso. No, vamos a poner la que colocan ellos. La mayoría son norteamericanos. Vamos a poner esta misma Pero esa como no.
Yeah, in that time, he's played the chord changes to a tune, but in that time they didn't play the chord changes, they just played one pattern.
No, Juan, antes era como yo te explicaba.
Yeah, before 1928, nobody played the chord changes.
I have a question. You play the bass line for the comparsa, or you play the conga?
Sí, también. ¿No? Por ejemplo, la conga.
The conga.
La conga original
The original conga
no es como se toca acá.
is not like it's being played here in the States.
Es una conga comercial.
It's a commercial conga what they play here.
Por ejemplo, se dice este movimiento.
That's not what the Cuban musicians do. The dancers dance with the knees. Different from what we used to be here.
En la calle,
On the streets. Yeah.
en los carnavales.
In the carnivals in Cuba, that's where they play comparsas and conga.
Pero estoy hablando de la década del 20.
That he's talking about 1920s, that's the way they dance.
Cuando vino el tema de cine, por ejemplo, decía nada,
When he came this year last
ya es
to
una
the
conga de
picture,
salón.
it was like a conga that was made for high society.
Aquí hasta fue uno de los primeros que llegó acá.
A piazza.
No sé si ellos ahora quién es, pero el año ya llegó aquí en el año 28.
This guy Apiazo came here in 1928. He's asking if anybody remembers that.
El manicero y esa cosa.
He used to see the manicero, the peanut vendor.
¿Qué crees por el pico? Dime qué es.
¿Es verdad que el manicero fue el que empezó con la clave de los tres?
He's asking if the manicero started with the 2-3 clave. But he said that it's before that. The clave used to be played before that.
De la clave. A todo esto.
The clave,
Sí. Yo que tengo tocando
he's been playing for
66 años.
66 years.
Tocando. La carrera de México está ganando.
His career hasn't finished yet, that's what he's saying. I think they're gonna finish anymore.
Pero quiero decirle esto porque es lógico. La clave
The clave,
se tenga la seguridad que no estoy de esto no tengo seguridad. No se sabe quién empezó a hacer.
he doesn't know who created clave. As far as he knows, he doesn't know who
Pero
created
el
clave.
primer son que se dio
But the first song that was
fue la más Teodora.
Mama Teodora, Ma Teodora.
Era así,
Ajá.
una señora.
You see, a lady that created the song, the first song is like black.
Vendía un instrumento que se llamaba bandola.
She used to have an instrument called bandola,
Era una cosa larga así.
big
Brazo,
thing.
si fuera una guitarra.
It's like a guitar
Clavija,
with
una cuerda larga,
one string.
eso es, y una para agarrar el puente aquí. Eso es lo que estaba.
So it's a different instrument called bandola. It's like one string with a small bridge and a really large stick.
Decía la más Teodora.
She was called Ma Teodora.
Ahí viene la más Teodora
There comes Ma Teodora
con su palo y su bandola.
with his stick and su bandola. That's where the song used to
Sí,
be.
porque ella no caminaba bien, entonces ella palo.
She couldn't walk straight, so she worked like this.
Oscar, I have a question. What is actually the difference between pregón and son?
¿Cuál es la diferencia entre pregón y son?
Bueno, el pregón en realidad
The pregón,
no es que sea que se perdiera la música de son, pero el son de verdad, de la calle, no llevaba música.
the pregón on the street didn't have any music and really
Era
music.
porque en Cuba, hay que explicar esto,
In Cuba,
en Cuba los vendedores ambulantes,
the guys on the street which called ambulantes
proponiendo su mercancía,
that they sell on the street, they were selling the Americans.
exacto, es lo que hacían los pregones. Por eso
That's what
por ejemplo,
the guys used to sing.
Ese manicero,
And the peanut vendor
que es un danzón, pero a la vez pregón,
is a danzón and at the same time a pregón.
porque estaba pregonando
Yeah, so
manicero.
he was singing by himself when he was selling his mercancy, which in this case was the peanuts. So
Entonces ellos saben la letra, ¿no?
the peanut vendor, that's what is a pregón. The manicero is a pregón. At the same time, he's a son. I mean, a danzón.
Eso era lo que pregonaba en la calle. Manicero, maní, que sé yo, con el maní.
So he was singing. At the same time, he was trying to
Entonces
sell.
yo escuchaba y decía, come here. How much?
So he was buying.
Esa es la idea del pregón.
That's the idea of the pregón. So it's not music involved. It's only the guy who's shouting for to sell his mercants.
Pero entonces se adhirió a la música al otro.
And then the pregón was involved with Cuban music.
Can you play the difference, going back to the conga, the difference between the, let's say, the American or Broadway or, salon way of playing the bass in the conga and the real way?
Si puede tocar la diferencia entre cómo se toca la conga aquí cuando ya está americanizada a cómo se tocaba antes.
Sí, no. Como se toca actualmente.
How is the conga played these
No,
days?
no,
Before that, it was different. That's the used to play before that. That's the conga, the original conga.
Entonces llevaba un instrumento que actualmente no se encuentra aquí.
And it used to be played by an instrument.
¿Cómo se le dice? Bueno, a redoblar.
Oh, the snare. They play with the snare.
Eso lo llevaban aquí. Entonces empezaba a redoblar.
So the snare was the one that started it, the conga.
Tenía eso.
And then the,
Entonces yo tocaba la caja, no era excepcionista de verdad. La tocaba, me daba.
yeah, he wasn't a truly percussionist, so he played whichever way he liked it.
Tenía su estilo particular.
He has an original style.
No había un maestro de verdad, lo mataba.
If a truly teacher team, he was gonna kill it. He said.
No, pero así era, esa era la concordia. Lo que pasa es que no se usó. Primeramente, esto no sé si te recuerda la bossa nova, ¿no?
Yeah, he's trying, asking if everybody knows bossa nova.
Right, muy bonito,
That's very nice,
pero para bailar, no
but
era.
you cannot dance
No se hizo popular.
it. That's why it didn't become popular, the dance. Bossa nova is really nice to hear it.
Cachao, I have a question. When you play a pachanga bass line, the difference between the cha-cha-cha bass line and the pachanga?
Bueno, Cachao es público. Esa es papá.
Yeah, he's gonna play the difference between cha-cha-cha and pachanga, which is a more recent rhythm, a different rhythm. And they dance pachanga with the handkerchief, so it's a different rhythm.
No duró mucho. Porque los ritmos, yo no sé qué tal. Que las cosas no duran.
Yeah, he said that the new rhythms, they don't last as they used to be, they used to do before.
No sé si llegaron a escuchar la lambada.
Like lambada. Yeah.
¿Sabes? A ver, un baile muy fuerte.
It's like a strong dance. Nobody was ready to dance. It was really hard to dance.
No era igual que poner el baile más fácil que hay en
The easiest one to dance
es el merengue.
is the merengue.
Y el paso doble.
And Paso Doble from Spain. He said, this guy with one leg to dance. Only with one leg. The same with Paso Doble from Spain.
No, no importa, tío. Yo tengo hasta familia dominicana. Por eso es muy popular. ¿Por qué no lo baila? Tango. Tiene problema de tango.
The same with tango.
Dice que el tango lo inventó un individuo que le está huyendo a la policía.
So the tango was created by a guy that was running away from police.
El movimiento. El movimiento es este, no el tango. Tango original.
It's really hard to dance.
Tango de verdad, es difícil.
Yeah, the tango is really hard to dance.
El tango realmente la gente lo baila. Claro, especialmente hacer los pasillos que son aquí.
Yeah, it's really hard dance, he's saying.
Muy bello.
It's really beautiful music, but really hard to dance.
Ahora, la música nuestra es muy extensa.
Cuban music is really
Una serie de bailes.
there's a lot of different dances.
El baile de santo.
Dances for the Santos, Santeria.
Eso más bien es.
That's from Africa, the Santeria is from Africa.
Se hace el ritmo. No me algo de santo.
They have a lot of different dances for the
En
Santos.
eso hay una.
He doesn't want anybody to play bata because it's a little dangerous.
Hay que explicar eso también.
Uh-huh.
Que no esté iniciado
The guy that is not initiated
en esa religión
in the religion,
no puede tocar.
he can't play the drums, like bata drums.
Está prohibido.
He's forbidden to play the bata drums until he gets involved with it. Something could happen to him.
Incluso los ritmos, ¿no? Toca, o sea, si no toca los tambores, pero toca el ritmo también.
Sí, pero en el pantalla es diferente.
He said it's somebody that is playing the same rhythms but in a different
Eso
instrument.
es muy extenso.
But he says it's the same problem.
And can I, what do you think now that, LP sells so many, but, a lot of people can buy it?
No, la gente no toca aquí.
Yeah, the people play it
Pero
here,
no tocan los tambores fundamentos.
but they don't play the fundamental drums.
Mientras no sea fundamento,
Ah, no, claro, no puede tocar.
Cachao, you play Guido? Will you play Guido with the, yeah,
There's another rhythm called Guido,
with bata?
Ah, sí, sí, como no, es chéquere.
the checker.
Sí, chéquere.
It's a 6/8 rhythm. So the main instrument is checker.
Eso ya es diferente porque
That's a different
que
thing.
se cría en ese ambiente, en esa religión, sí puede tocar ese
And the people that grows up without religion in mind, he could play those rhythms really easy.
no se puede estudiar.
You cannot study.
Yo recuerdo cuando estaba en la Orquesta Filarmónica de él ahora,
He remembers when he was in the Philharmonic Orchestra in Havana.
yo, el maestro Stravinsky,
Mr. Stravinsky, he came to direct the concerts
sí, de su propia
of
música,
his own music,
El Pájaro de Fuego,
Birds of Fire,
Truca, y lo llevaron,
and they take it
al maestro lo llevaron a un plante de ñaño.
to the plantation of Ñáñigo.
Quiere decir planta no es la palabra de eso. Es que, por ejemplo, plantarse que situarse
Oh,
para el inglés. En una reunión
it was a reunion, I said. That was a mistake.
hacen los cambios. Entonces el maestro fue con una libreta.
He came with a small notebook to take notes. Oh, music notes.
Entonces trató
And he
de
tried
escuchar lo que hacían los tambores.
to listen while the drums were playing.
Pero en este caso el lucumí,
That was a rhythm Lukumi from
más
Ñáñigo.
extenso. No pudo.
He couldn't take it.
Trató de explicar.
He tried to write it, but he couldn't
Una
write it.
serie de variaciones, porque de pronto era un compacillo, como era un 2x4. como
Yeah, they
era
have a
un
different,
ocho,
they
como
so
era un
varied
4x8 también.
that they switched from 2/4 to 6/8, so he couldn't write it at all.
Sí, todos los compases del mundo están en esa música.
Yeah, everything that happens in the world, he said, that's where the music is coming from.
Por eso hay eso el tambor negro y todo el tambor mudo. Esa es la base.
That's the basic rhythm.
Entonces, oiga lo que hace, vamos a llamar el quinto. El quinto es una cosa que se toca libremente, no tiene compás ni cuadro.
That's the quinto, what he's gonna play in the upright. free, that's what he said. By the quinto, he doesn't follow any rhythmic pattern. He's played really freely.
Para eso.
So that's why you have to be from Africa to be able to play that stuff. Congos. The people that came from Africa to Cuba were mainly Congos. Those are the ones who played tambor, yuca, and tambor mula. Yeah, you could not write that type of music. You cannot transcribe this. Not even with a computer. Same Cuban guys. Yes. From like Congo originally from the same Congo. He knew a guy from Congo called Mayumba. 115 years old. That's because he didn't grow up, he lasts long. He played 3 days straight in the mountains without no stop. He didn't stop. What he wasn't making? Aguardiente only? Yeah. Aguardiente, yes, it's like really strong liquor. 3 days he played. When he was 115 years old. Strong, complete. He didn't smoke. Oh, he chewed tobacco. Maybe that's why.
Would you play an abacua? Okay.
They're gonna play an abacua rhythm later on. He's gonna play a thing that they recorded in 1976. Cachao, I got one question for you. My question. When was the bass pattern came to be syncopated as the way that you play it now? How did that come the idea to you? Instead of playing pum, in, you play syncopation like a tumbao. Yeah, that's originally from him. The change from the all typical way the Cuban used to play and the syncopation that he plays, which is called tumbao, that's his own creation, which is responsible for 100% of the bass players playing these days, I mean Latin players, and it will be for the next 200 years probably. The next number is an abacua. It's called Eque. It was recorded in Hollywood. Luis Benson, with drummer Luis Benson. Louis Belson. 6/8 rhythm. There were 4 drummers. Bata drums and percussion rhythm section, bongos and congas. Alex Acuña playing that recording. And Luis Belson, Walfredo de los Reyes, and his son that plays with Santana, I think, to this days, the drummer, Cuban drummer. And Luis Conte on the congas. Francisco Aguabella, one of the greatest the bata players, and the Puntilla from New York, Master Puntilla also playing that recording. So he's gonna play that they recorded in 1976, abacua called Eque. Any other questions?
What is he doing right now? He's in Miami and playing sessions and trying to.
Bueno, yo en Miami estoy haciendo ahora teatro.
He's doing theater work.
Sí, una vez hago ópera, otra vez
Opera.
hago zarzuela,
Zarzuela also.
opereta, y
It's like a lot of
música de
Spanish
Strolling.
theater.
Música electrónica. Strolling, ese.
Strolling music.
Restaurante.
Restaurant music.
Que le tocamos a la gente que está comiendo. Lo podemos comer.
So he plays in a restaurant also sometimes just to play for people.
No, pero es música seria.
Serious music.
No pueden comer. Tienen que bailar.
Yeah, so they have to, yeah, it's for people to eat.
Pero eso
Who's he going to play with on Thursday? The concert on Thursday. Who will he play with on Thursday?
mueve. Bueno, los músicos vienen.
The musicians are coming from New York for Thursday's gig.
Bueno, que tiene la lista de eso, pero yo no conozco.
El trumpet player Chocolate Armenteros, Richie Flores on the congas,
En el piano viene
Eddie Martinez on piano from Colombia,
En el flauta viene Mauricio Schmidt.
Mauricio Smith from Panama, flute. Claro.
Y Randy Rosa. Viene un muchacho que va a tocar de timbal, que es nuevo. Y el trompeta principal de
Oh, the first trumpet from Tito Puente, I think, is coming also, he said. Oh, Tibal Bray from Ruben Blades is playing with him Thursday night. Rafi Rizarre. And the singers, Germán
y el otro se llama Baró.
and Baro.
¿A qué hora es eso?
It's Thursday at 8 o'clock. 8:30, sorry, at Villa Victoria.
It's the Villa Victoria Cultural Center on 85 West Newton Street at 8:30. You know. That's in the south end, out of Tremont Street. So actually just down Mass Ave and take a left on Tremont, about 4 blocks to your right.
Yeah, the tickets are $12 for Thursday night. Any other questions?
What is
the relationship between salsa and Cuban music?
No relation whatsoever. This is the same thing, but he said, but the salsa, the word was used to identify Cuban music in a faster way. Same Cuban music that they changed names to be able to sell it faster. The guaguancó, guaracha, the son, and rumba. It's all salsa, but it's, at the same time it's all Cuban music. Like they just put a name to the whole Cuban music just to identify it in a fact, like I'm saying, in a more easy way for the people to understand. Any type of music that you could hear, like it's not from here and it's Cuban, it's called salsa. So they could be able to take it to a different market. The first time that they heard the word salsa, in 1926, el Sexteto Habanero, which is Habanero y el Sexteto Nacional. El Sexteto Nacional. This Sexteto Nacional, Ignacio Piñeiro was the one that created Échale Salsita. That was the first time that the word salsa was used in Cuba. That's 1926. The word came from because it was a store that they sell hot dogs here. They sell butifarras in Cuba. Butifarra from Congo. The same guy. Yeah, black guy with blue eyes. And everybody went for that place, to that place. It's like a tourist place. They go to Santiago de Cuba. They have to go by their store. And he sell the butifarras. And they say, put some salsa on it, which is échale salsita in Spanish. So they put the sauce on it. So that was the first time that they applied that word, that what happened in that store to the music. So they created a song called Échale Salsita. It was for the food, exactly. And that disappeared in Cuba. And when he did the first descarga, the bongo player, Rogelio Iglesias, they used to call him Diello. He said, more sauce than fish. He wants more sauce than the other food. But the word, they have no relation whatsoever with Cuban music. It's created in New York probably. And he said no radio station played Cuban music here. So they had to have something. In that matter was salsa, the music that was played. Yeah, so they couldn't say that was Cuban music. So now they say it's salsa. And the people think that salsa is the same as Cuban music, which is not.
Did you play a songo rhythm?
He's asking for a songo rhythm, which is more recent Cuban rhythm. Yeah.
Dígale, el tiburón se come la sardina, ¿no? Pero el tiburón y la sardina se llama.
The name of the next tune is called The Shark and the Sardine because the shark eats the sardine.
Había bastante tiburón. Voy solo.
Tiburón que se come la sardina,
Tiburón que se come la sardina, tiburón que se come la sardina, tiburón que se come la sardina, tiburón que se come la sardina, tiburón que se come la sardina.
One last thing I would like to introduce the band that is playing with Cachao. We have Alain Mallet on the piano. Tito Ayala on the piano. Pernell Córdoba. Acurrino. Ernesto Díaz from Colombia on timbal. And big round of applause for Alex. He's the responsible of Cachao. Any last questions? Fast. We have 2 minutes. Any question? Yes, last question.
Can these guys demonstrate some other rhythms like guaracha and guajira, things like that? Do they know that?
Guaracha. Yeah, the last. Guaracha.
No, anyone, guaracha, guajira, son montuno, some other rhythms that...
He's gonna play a guajira last number. It's less known. Like a lot of people doesn't know guajira, so he's gonna do that. please forgive his singing, he said. It's very kind of his singing.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming. Thank you.
See you there.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. I'm Rich Appleman, chair of the bass department, and I'd like to welcome for the first of 4 master classes. This is part of the performance division major residency program that is happening this semester. So let's welcome Kristen McBride.
It is indeed a pleasure to be here with you guys for the next few weeks. First thing that I would like to say to you guys is I hope that most of you, if not all of you, can come back for all of these master classes, because it would be very easy for me to just improvise a talk session or whatever for 4 weeks in a row. But I don't want to do that. I have something specific I want to do, and hopefully all you guys can come back these next few weeks, and we'll develop something. I hope all of you will leave these master classes thinking, oh, okay, cool, I got something to go home and deal with, as opposed to just me talking about stuff I'm sure you already know. So, how many bass players are here today? Good. Good. Very, very good. The first thing I wanted to start off today with, today I want to deal primarily with sound. Obviously, no matter what instrument you play, I mean, whether you're a vocalist, piano player, guitar player, bass player, horn player, first thing you have to learn how to do is develop a sound. I don't mean your sound personally as a player. I just mean a sound. Any kind of a good sound. And the acoustic bass is probably one of the toughest instruments to get a good sound out of. A lot of people, I've talked about this so many times, I'm sure you've heard it from a lot of other players as well, is the subject of amplification versus no amplification. And obviously there are pros and cons to both, but if you're learning how to play your instrument, you have to learn how to get a good sound out of the instrument itself. The amplifier and the pickup, that's something completely different. That's something only to help boost what you're already putting into the instrument. So today I want to deal primarily with that. So I have these basses here I was hoping to demonstrate on for you, and I brought a couple of CDs to get us started to show you exactly what I have in mind. We look at the history of jazz bass, and it's only been in the last 25 years have pickups become a very integral part of what goes on with the acoustic bass. And I think any of us who's ever listened to any bass player who played before the advent of pickups, we listen to all these records and we can hear that they were heard. We heard every note they played crystal clear. We listened to Ops Foster, we listened to Jimmy Blanton with the Duke Ellington Orchestra, and I mean, you could hear them, and hear them well. And this one example I brought with me, It's Ron Carter, and it's with the Oliver Nelson Big Band. Pretty rare CD. And the reason why I chose this one is because when this record was recorded in the late 60s, it was right on the cusp of when the pickup started becoming more prominent. And Ron is not using a pickup on this particular CD. But I brought this one because Ron Carter basically has not played without a pickup. I mean, he's one of the few bass players, I think, who has developed a very wonderful sound with a pickup. But his sound naturally has always been one to behold as well. And the other reason why I brought this is because, like I said, it's with a big band. It was my own personal experience that I came to realize the beauty of the acoustic bass naturally in a big band. And my first reaction, it was a big band with Wynton Marsalis. As a matter of fact, our only performance was here at Berkeley, and that was in 1988, 89, I think, something like that. And we were playing a lot of Duke Ellington's music, and we were at the first rehearsal. And, you know, like most bass players who use amplifiers or pickups, you know, I had to get to rehearsal extra early so I can get my EQs together and, you know, sitting there fiddling with the amp. And I couldn't get the right sound, you know, the sound that I was looking for. So Wynton shows up and he says, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm, you know, trying to get my amp hooked up. He says, well, turn her off. I thought he was joking. I said, yeah. He said, no, I'm serious. Turn it off. I said, but man, we're playing a big band. He said, yeah, and? I said, well, man, you won't be able to hear me. He said, well, if you play your instrument right, you'll be heard. So I'm thinking, what does he know about bass? He's a trumpet player. But, much to my surprise, he couldn't be more, I mean, he was so correct. I mean, it was amazing. I turned the amp off, and the band started playing, and I'm playing. I'm thinking, wow, he's right. I could, you know, people, the guys in the band heard me, and I heard myself. Now, granted, that doesn't happen all the time. A lot of that depends on who you're playing with, but, you know, my point is that it is possible to be heard in any size band without an amplifier. That all depends on what kind of sound you're getting out of your instrument. So I'm going to let you hear this Oliver Nelson CD with Ron Carter playing. And I mean, it sound like, I mean, it sounds so large. Now, just that first note. I'm going to start that again. play the whole thing, but I think you got the idea. Now, of course, you could argue, well, you know, the engineer, you know, had the mic turned up and, you know, whatever. Plus it was the 60s and sound had kind of developed to the point where you could get a good bass sound. Now, of course, you could have that argument, but I want to play you something from Count Basie's orchestra from 1958. And this is a man named Ed Jones who just passed away recently. And he was the backbone of the Basie band for a long time. And though you cannot hear the bass as well as you do on that, definitely there's no way in the world you can't feel it. So let's listen to a few bars of this. That I played for you. And by the way, please, if anybody has a question at any point in these next 100 minutes now, just stop me and ask. Yes, sir. It's a Quincy Jones composition called Jessica's Day. And that's from an album called One More Time, Count Basie. And that Oliver Nelson piece actually was his take on St. Louis Blues. I didn't play the whole thing. You would have recognized it had it continued. And so, how do you get a good sound? Well, when that happened to me at that rehearsal with the big band, I think anyone's natural reaction would be to panic. Because they would think, oh, okay, well, now that I'm playing with no amplifier, and it's a big band, and, you know, there's all these people here, now I'm probably going to have to raise my strings about a yard off the fingerboard and pull like hell, which is what I did for a few months. And not only did I get tendonitis in both arms, but it just flat out didn't sound good. You know, if you're playing in any kind of band, and you're playing the bass like this, that does not sound good. Sorry, Mike, I don't want to, where you at? I won't kill your strings, I promise. But, you know, that is the natural reaction of most bass players when they're playing without an amplifier, because they think that's what they have to do in order to get heard. But you don't want to, you know, a bass can only hold so much sound, and when you pull it that hard, I mean, it's actually, it might sound softer doing that than it would if you just play like this. everybody would rather hear the first example than hear that one. And if you look at any videotape of a bass player who we admire, I mean historically, on down the line, I don't think there's any video footage of Jimmy Glancy, but look at Sam Jones or Paul Chambers or Oscar Pettiford or Ray Brown. There's a video I saw in your office, Ray Brown with the Dizzy Gillespie big band in the 40s. Mill Hinton. You hear all this huge sound coming out of the instrument, and I don't know why it didn't hit me till later after I'd gone through all this pain and tendonitis. You listen to all of these bass players who we admire, or you watch them, especially when you watch them. There's a famous video, I don't know if any of you've seen it, of Miles Davis with the Gil Evans Orchestra from 1960, or 1959 rather. And Paul Chambers is playing. Now, Paul Chambers obviously had one of the greatest sounds of anybody in the history of jazz bass. And the whole time, Paul Chambers was like, I mean, he might be playing with less force than that. And I mean, the sound is just coming. I mean, you can hear it on a little TV, you know, just like. Then I saw a video of Cannonball Adderley's group from the early 60s, and Sam Jones was playing. And, you know, you listen to a lot of Cannonball records that have Sam Jones on it. It sounds like he's murderizing the bass. I mean, just all that sound, just all that force coming out of those speakers. But same thing, he's like. Point is that you don't need a whole lot of force to get a good sound out of your instrument. But then there's that other school. Now this is the amplifier school, where guys think, oh well, since I have an amplifier, I don't have to do any work at all. I can put my strings all the way down. I mean, I'm just, hey, you know, why bother getting counts? You know, if I can be heard, why go through the pain of, you know, doing that? And then you get guys that play like this. You know, I think if you want to play like that, you might as well just play electric. You might as well just play fretless. But I mean, why take such a beautiful instrument, beautiful big instrument like this, and not use it to its capacity? So you don't want to go that route either. For me, and I think most bass players will agree with me, that first thing, you don't need your strings very high off the fingerboard. You know, like I said about raising the strings really high so you can have a whole lot of pull up high. You don't need that, but yet still you don't want to have it too close. You want to have it at a nice, comfortable medium position, which is where this bass is. Go ahead, man. This bass is set really, really nicely. For someone who really doesn't have, you know, who's just starting to play, who hasn't developed, you know, the strength in their hands yet, this is a nice, comfortable position for them to begin on. And once you have developed the strength in your hands, this is a good place to stay. So try to find a good medium height that the strings, you know, where your strings are. And obviously, it always helps to have a good instrument, which this is. But and the other thing is, when I'm getting back to the incident about the Yankees, I think it's also one's natural reaction to think the sound is in this hand. It's 50-50, you know. You can pull all like hell with your right hand. Those notes are not getting the full volume because I'm not pressing down up here. Well, you have to put as much strength in this hand as you're putting in this hand. As a matter of fact, if you have enough strength in this hand, you don't need to yank so hard with this hand here. But it's all about balance. You don't want to press too hard down here either. I mean, because you don't need to do that. But, you know, use 50-50. Prove that theory works 99.9% of the time, I'm going to play this other bass, which I've only played for maybe 5 seconds. And we'll see what happens. I think that was a fairly decent sound that came out of that instrument just now. But, you know what I mean? You don't really need to change up a whole lot to play any instrument. And it's all about building up your strength in both hands and not going overboard. You know, you don't want to overwork yourself, but then you don't want to be an underachiever either. And for all of you acoustic bass players out there, go home and try that out. Get your instrument nice and balanced. You know, I think everyone, even if you are not an experienced bass player, you know whether or not you have a good instrument. Take your instrument to the shop if you have to. Get it worked on, get it nice and balanced, and then keep your string height at a nice medium length, and just work on getting, holding down the strings up here and working on have good velocity in this hand when you're plucking. Just build up those muscles and don't be afraid to get those calluses. I know so many cats who just don't want to get calluses, and you don't get earrings. So that's for starters. And as a matter of fact, where are you, Mike? This is Michael, ladies and gentlemen. Who's your best man? Now walk some blues for me. Just walk in again. Now this is what I want you to do for me next. I want you to walk the blues without no hickey feeling. know what hickety bills are? Just do this for me. Just play all quarter notes. Now you know something? I understood everything you just said. I mean, just without those hickety. I mean, see, when you don't do that, you know, then you have to actually play the note. You know, the note you play has to register. So that's what I'm talking about. You keep doing that, and I also heard the notes that you played a lot better too. I mean, like you just. Now that's the idea I'm talking about. You got a good setup here on your bass, and this all, you know, when you play without the hickety tones, we call them, that's all a part of the sound as well, because you know the sound gets muffled when you know, especially when it's not clear. There's an art to those that a lot of people haven't mastered yet. So before you get to that, you know, just keep playing straight quarter notes. And good job, man. Massimo, where you at? This is Massimo, ladies and gentlemen. Play a B flat, cat and up that. The right idea. But one thing about the bass is that no string is alike. Like I noticed you like. I think it's good to approach the E string a little differently than you do with any other string on the bass, because when you play on any other string on the bass, you have the string behind it to kind of fall back on the uses your support. But you don't have that for the E string, so consequently, a lot of times you get these. If you're caught up in the heat of the moment, you know, when you're on the gig, that's cool a lot of times. But a lot of times, that's not. And I think it's good to approach the E string with a much softer attack than you would all the other strings. And to some extent, you're going to get a little bit of a buzz on the E string, and that's fine. But you know, you want to stay away from those spitballs. And I think with your technique, with the way you were playing every string the same way, I think you're more prone to get those. So you know, when you get down to the E string, kind of keep in mind that you don't have that support behind you. So you want to have your approach to the E string be a little different than it is to the A, D, and G. One more thing I want to see you trying to do. Let me see you try to use more of the ball of your fingertip on your left hand, because you almost have like a... You play another instrument other than bass? You know, it almost... I see a lot of violin players play like that. They play like real flat down like that. Hey, I understand that, my man. I want to see you try to get more of the meat of your fingertip down there. I mean, what you played was fine. I just want to see if that feels comfortable to you. Yeah. That you have to keep in mind when you first start playing the bass and you learn how to get a good sound out of your instrument. All of these things that you've just seen, always keep that in mind. And now the bow, this is a completely different animal here. Now, for me, as far as playing jazz is concerned, it's not going to make or break you if you know how to play with the bow. But it's always something a little cool to have in your back pocket. And one of the things that you need to keep in mind when you're playing with the bow is one of the same things that I just got finished showing you about keeping your hand nice and steady, your left hand nice and firm on the string. And this all goes with having a good sound, whether you're playing arco or pizzicato. creaked a little bit right before the note came out. That all comes from this hand here. And my teacher was saying, well, you know, you got to get to the note a millisecond before you actually start playing the note with the bow. And see, when you're playing pizzicato, you can ghost a lot of stuff like that. When you're playing with the bow, I mean, you talk about being exposed. I mean, there's absolutely no hiding when you're playing with the bow. Like I said, they like to kind of brush over a lot of things. Say, well, you know, okay, might not be so important. But all of this stuff is so important to getting a good sound. Yes, sir.
You obviously, I know you studied classical music quite a bit. You mentioned any bass pieces which you feel change the way you approach the bass, or some very important classical repertoire?
Well, obviously, there's the you know, Kusavitsky and the Dragon. I mean, these are like the most well-known pieces for bass, but I only kind of played at those pieces. I went to Juilliard, and I always dreaded the day that I would have to get around to try to play those pieces. But I never really had a particular piece change the way or somehow augment or diminish, for that matter, the way I approach playing the bass. I think it's really good. And I mean, that's one obvious thing that's good for all of you young bass players out there to keep in mind, is to have a good teacher, especially a good classical teacher, because I totally think my classical training helped the way I play jazz. Just because of the, you know, a lot of these things that I'm showing you now is by way of classical training. Especially with the left hand and having it, you know, nice and firm up top when you're holding the string down. And when you're playing fast, you know, this is easy. It's easy to do that. The fast stuff with the right hand. The trick is nailing the notes you're supposed to play with the left hand. You know, you can. Notes that if you got a particular line you're hearing, hitting the note up here is what's important. It all comes right back around in a circle. Don't worry about this hand so much. This is the secret, the left hand. And while we're talking about sound, I want to mention that next week, and we'll start today as well. That's one thing I'm trying to ask for. Right? Well, that's cool. I don't need that. But,